150 years is a long time, especially if you're spending it in a federal prison. Ponzi schemer Bernard Madoff is about to find out what that is all about, having arrived at his new residence in North Carolina. CBS News correspondent Priya David has the story.
The convicted swindler arrived yesterday at what will most likely be his final home, the Butner Federal Prison Complex outside Raleigh, North Carolina. A medium security facility, which includes a medical center. Butner is 475 miles from New York, Madoff's hometown.
Medium security federal prisons, they're dangerous places. It's one step down from United States penitentiaries.
Every morning, the former billionaire will wake up at 6 a.m., have breakfast at 6:30, then work from 7:30 until 5 as a groundskeeper, food service worker, or some similar job, earning between 12 and 40 cents an hour. He'll have free time in the evening, then it's lights out at 11.
There's a reason they call it prison. So I don't imagine that anyone's going to be able, especially in his case, to look at him and say, here's a guy who's, living a country club life.
At Butner, Madoff will be in the company of other well-known criminals, including convicted terrorist Omar Abdel Rahman, Carmine Persico, boss of the Colombo crime family, and Jonathan Pollard, America's most famous double agent. The prison currently holds more than 4,800 inmates. In a statement to CBS News, Madoff's attorney, Ira Sorkin, said his client was, quote, pleased with the designation and that Butner is a good facility of someone of his age and health. There are recent reports Madoff's health is deteriorating, and if he's not healthy, he won't work. The 71-year-old Madoff, now known as inmate 61727-054, is scheduled to be released on November 14th, 2139. Harry.
David, thank you very, very much. At prison, Herb Holter is a prison consultant with the National Center on Institutions and Alternatives, and he was hired by Madoff and his team to advise them on the transition to federal prison, and he joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey.
How many days before sentencing did you meet with Bernie Madoff?
Oh, I think we met with him 4 days before his final sentence.
And how long was that visit?
A few hours.
Yeah.
And we met with him to talk about the transition to another prison, hopefully one that had, certainly a lower security level than where he was in the Manhattan Correctional Center.
Which is really a serious lockdown.
It's a total lockdown, 23 hours a day,
right.
1 hour a day out.
So in some ways, this will be a relief to him.
Oh, and there's no question. His life dramatically improves.
Improves by
going to Butner. And Butner is a well-run facility. I have, unfortunately, a lot of defendants down there that I've worked with over the years. I've spent a lot of time down there. And it's always been well-run. It's, good facility.
Right. What were Madoff's concerns? Was he afraid?
No. With what he's gone through where he is now, there was no fear. I think there was certainly apprehension. I think he has concerns about visiting, about family, and being able to communicate again with his family.
As it turns out, there are pretty liberal rules in terms of being able to communicate. Does he not have phone privilege?
He gets 300 minutes a month, the same as any other inmate.
That's a lot.
It's 15 minutes at a time, no more than 15-minute phone calls. The visiting is good down at Butner.
Right.
He'll be able to see his family, hopefully.
Right. It is not the so-called country club, though, by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, there was never a country club prison. I mean, that was always a myth. Prison is prison.
Right.
He certainly won't have the freedom that he would have in a camp, but he'll be able to have a normal routine.
How would you describe his demeanor as you talked to him for those several hours?
I think he was certainly composed. He was remorseful.
He was remorseful?
Absolutely. The reports that he had no remorse or no compassion for what went on were totally myth.
Do you think he's had a conversion since beginning with his incarceration?
Well, I didn't know him, of course, prior, when he was out on the streets. I only met him in prison, and so I can't know if there was a conversion, but I can certainly say to you that he has a heartfelt compassion for the people that he harmed, and he's working diligently to try to get civil settlements in all of the cases.
Would he be able to work in that regard in Butner?
Well, he can be advised by his civil attorneys for sure, and he can have legal visits down there, and he can have phone calls with them.
Right.
And I'm sure that he will continue in that.
And finally, last but not least, would he be subject to, would he be in any danger being in a place like that?
I don't think so. In the most ironic of senses, I think he'll have a high degree of respect from other inmates because he'll be serving more time than any of them are. And I think that having a 150-year sentence is, how do I say it, maybe a badge of honor,
right,
among other inmates.
So it gives him street cred to be in there for so long.
Yes, in some sense, yeah.
Unbelievable. Herb Holter, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do appreciate it.